Yep. That sucks. Why am I leaking oil? I'm still recording. Oh, look at it. Here it is. She's laying on the ground. A broken handguard. We smashed a hole in the case again. Same side too. What a mess. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Today I want to talk to you about the AltRider crash guards. I picked up this DCT model and it's completely naked. Naked! Not a single piece of protection on this bike at all whatsoever. So I had to do my due diligence and guard this thing up so that when I do tip it over when riding off-road, it does stay protected. You want to see something really cool? Check it out. AltRider crash guards. We got uppers, we got lowers, and the support piece. Full installation video coming up right now.
Now this fits both the CRF1000L and the CRF1000L2 adventure sports models. The installation process is a little bit different between those two bikes, but these bars do fit both styles of those machines, and they do a phenomenal job at protecting these motorcycles. Now, the first thing I'm going to recommend is that you read through the AltRider instructions step by step and familiarize yourself with exactly what you're going to need to do. AltRider does a phenomenal job at giving you all the pieces spec'd out in the instruction sheet so you can see every single component. You then have step-by-step installation instructions so that you can make sure that the process is done correctly and in the right order. Now, in this particular application, we had 3 different pieces that we're going to be installing, and some of them use the same hardware, the same location, they just stack on top of each other. So it's imperative that you read through all of the instructions for each of the components so you can see exactly where the crossover is so you don't mess anything up. So to begin the process of this installation, we have the front mount that needs to be put into place. This utilizes the upper part of the wishbone of the Africa Twin frame. This is going to require you to remove the OEM bolts at the very top of the frame and replace them with AltRider supplied hardware and brackets. Once you get the brackets, the bolts, and the nuts in place, you're going to want to start to tighten those down, but you're going to want to leave quite a bit of wiggle room. The reason for that is you're going to be attaching other components to these brackets, and you want to be able to have enough wiggle room that you can get everything set up and ready to go so that you don't have any binding or misaligned bolts when it comes time to attach the other components. Next up, we're going to need to install the lower frame bracket. Now, in order to make that happen, we need to drop the exhaust. So we're going to do 2 things. First, we're going to go ahead and loosen all of the header bolts at the front of the exhaust. We're then going to go back to the back of the exhaust, and where the exhaust hanger is that holds the muffler, we're going to remove that and drop that down about 8 inches. That's going to allow the exhaust to drop low enough that we can get to the bolts that we need to in order to install the lower frame bracket from AltRider. Once that lower frame bracket is installed and roughly secured, we're going to go ahead and reattach the muffler body itself back to the frame towards the rear of the motorcycle. Once the muffler is secured, we're going to move down to the lower frame exhaust mount, tighten it up, and then we're going to go back to the headers and make sure all 4 of the header bolts are nice and secure. Next, we're going to move to the left-hand side of the motorcycle. We're going to remove the OEM bolts that hold the vent hose bracket in place. We're then going to secure it with a single bolt. After that's done, we're going to bring up the left side lower engine guard. We're going to install it at the very front of the motorcycle first, there on the upper frame, and then we're going to attach it to the lower frame mount. Moving on over to the right-hand side of the bike, we're going to go ahead and set the right-hand guard up in place and install the bolts near the rear of the motorcycle first. Once those are threaded in by hand, we're going to move to the front of the motorcycle to install the bolts up near the upper frame. Next, we're going to move up underneath the front nose or cowl of the motorcycle. Up there, we're going to have 2 main bolts that we are going to remove so we can attach the upper support stay for the AltRider crash guard system. Next, we're going to slip together the crash guard system and lightly or gently slip it onto the motorcycle so we can see exactly where the mount points are going to attach. You're then going to go ahead and remove the 2 bolts on each side that you attached the lower crash guard to. Slip the upper crash guard in between the lower crash guard and the mounting bracket, and then replace the bolts. Repeat that same process on the other side. Now we're going to move to the very top of the motorcycle, to the top of the crash guards. Install the 4 tapered bolts that are going to go into the crash guard frame itself, securing it to that bracket or mount that we just installed underneath the headlight. Once those are securely attached, we're going to tighten the 2 bolts that hold that bracket in place, making sure that those are nice and snug, because that's going to be the jumping off point to getting all of the other bolts and hardware on this system to line up and snug down where they should be. The next section of bolts that we're going to make sure are nice and tight as per the spec are going to be the lower crash guard bolts on the right-hand side of the motorcycle. Once those are nice and tight, we're going to move to the upper mount and make sure that is secure on the frame of the motorcycle to begin with. Once we ensure the frame bolts are nice and tight to the spec that we want, we're then going to move to the bolts that secure the upper and lower crash guards to that frame mount. Once that's secured, you go down to that overflow hose or the vent hose section and make sure that those bolts are nice and secure as well. Next up, we're going to put together the support bracket or the brace that goes between the upper and lower crash guards. This is going to be 2 aluminum spacers, if you will, that are going to go around the bar at both the top and the bottom. You then have a long screw that's going to go through the outside of the bracket, through one of the aluminum clamps, pulling the backside aluminum clamp towards the bar. Again, you're going to repeat that process on the top, on the bottom, and on both sides. Once you've ensured that all of the bolts and all of the hardware are snug according to the AltRider spec dictated in the instructions, you are complete with this installation.
All right, guys, take a look. These are the AltRider crash guards installed on a 2018 Africa Twin CRF1000L DCT version. These are phenomenal crash guards. Now,
these are, in my opinion, one of the best looking, most robust crash guards on the market. They do a great job at coming down and protecting these cases, the radiators, the fans, and the fairing from impacts.
Now, in my personal opinion, AltRider makes some of the best crash guards out there on the market. Jeremy LeBreton is the owner of AltRider out of the state of Washington, which it's only fitting that today in Southern California, which we're almost in the summertime now, that we're getting rain, and I'm talking about AltRider products. Probably the rainiest state in all of the United States of America. Go figure. They really don't cut any corners, and they go to all lengths in order to make sure that the product is aesthetically pleasing and strong and durable, and it does what it's supposed to do. All right, let's talk about cost for a minute. So the complete system on this bike is almost $1,000. It's $889. It's a huge investment. Now, you think it's a huge investment, but it's really not. Take a look at this image. This was 5 days after I brought this bike home. I just wanted to go out for a quick little ride. I already had these guards on order, but I just couldn't wait. I had to get out, and I had an opportunity to ride with 2 other Africa Twins, so the heck, let's do it. We went out and hammered a really rocky riverbed. Now, we got to the end of the riverbed, and the road had this climb that went up, and I'm like, you know, maybe I probably shouldn't do that until I get this thing with crash guards. So what did we do? We wussed out and went up and we rode straight fire roads. Well, I come around a corner, and there's a cement culvert with a light dusting of dirt and rock on the top, and this thing went to the ground like I hit ice. Bam! So horrible. Now, take a look at this. The damage to the plastic and damage to the side cover. Guess what? It's $1,000 right there, guys. These AltRider crash guards are 100% worth the money. If you've got a naked bike and you're planning on riding off-road, I highly recommend you get a set of these AltRider crash guards on your bike right now. So drop what you're doing and go order these from either Chaparral Motorsports or AltRider.com. And that's it. That's what I've got for you today. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kyle. And until next time, take care and ride safe out there.
All of their full line of products are now being loaded onto ShapMoto.com. If you need protective adventure guards and gear for your motorcycle, take a look at ShapMoto.com or give our customer care team a call so we can get the right parts onto your bike now.
Anyway, if you have a naked bike like this and you plan on doing any off-roading at all whatsoever, I highly recommend that you get the AltRider crash guards. Now,